What's up, everybody? My name is Braedon Kruse. Welcome to the Brews and Business podcast. We're streaming live on my TikTok here at Blue Studio. I'm with Sooner Marketing Solutions. As always, I've got Chance with Threaded Industries. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to hear you. Abel is out of the studio today, and we have a special, very special podcast episode today. I'm very excited. Mason Thatcher is here, and I know you guys are familiar with him from a couple podcasts ago. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Excited?
I'm glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
This is going to be fun. I'm drinking some whiskey, so old fashioned. We got some beers out. It is Brews and Business, and today we're going to be talking about commercial funding and our special guest with Stout Funding, Stout
Funding.
Lending, and you guys are basically in the business of acquiring funding for commercial businesses. So if I need to get new equipment, things like that, right?
Most of what we do is actually, our main position is to connect the borrower with lender. We're a loan broker, so we literally have over 50 lenders on our platform to connect to get deals funded.
That's
Everything
so cool.
from, if you got a $100,000 fix and flip, multi-million-dollar apartment, you want to buy $125,000 CNC machine, we've got lenders for that.
That's very exciting. Chris Herford, introduce yourself, man. How are you?
How are you, man?
I'm excited
It's
to
good
have
to be
you
back
here.
in the studio here.
Yeah.
It's been busy. We've been adding new products. We've been adding non-real estate products, which is really, really cool at this time. So I'm Chris Herford. I am a co-owner of Stout Funding with Mr. Rockford Still. We are super excited to be here on the podcast with you, gentlemen. Mason, it's been awesome watching you on the other podcasts, and Chance, it's been awesome as well, dude. So, Braden, thanks for the invite and the opportunity. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Of course, and I got Rockford Steele here as well.
Well, hello, I'm
The
Rockford
man,
Steele.
the myth, the legend. right
Man,
here.
the myth,
Yeah.
the lesson. Your last name is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought of it myself, right? It's my standard go-to joke when anyone compliments my name.
That would be interesting if when you were born, you could just kind of rename. I guess your parents do. Huh?
I always
But what if
pictured
you
his
had the
dad, who
intention
is-
of, like, what if you had a role? That'd be so weird.
We're not going down that rabbit hole.
You know, I picture his father like doing it like the Arnold Schwarzenegger impression whenever he goes, it's a Rockford Steel. Yeah, yeah, my boy. And that's how I always pictured that going down. And his mother just like, oh, God. And so, and his parents are sweet people. So
That's hilarious. So I want to learn about how to get some money. I need money. I have a small business. Let's say somewhere between $1 million and $5 million, right?
Okay.
Well, we'll start with that, and then we'll go below and above. What do you guys offer? What do you do? How do I get started?
So it all starts with a conversation, right? We're going to have a phone call or we'll have a meeting and we'll discuss, where you're at now and what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, the vast majority of what we've done historically as far as lending goes is lending for either acquisition or refinancing of real estate. So a lot of that, it's more project-based. What are you buying? What are you trying to do to it? Is this a fix and flip? You planning to turn this into a rental? What are your plans? Is it's an apartment complex or a hotel conversion to multifamily rental? Just what are we trying to get done? Understand really the goals of the client. What is their priority? What are they trying to accomplish? And then we try to match that with a lender that does that. The reason why we have so many lenders is they're all really good at like one or two things, and I never really want to place a loan with somebody that will do it because, okay, we're okay with that. I want to place it with a lender that says, this is what we want to do.
hey, Rockford, what is the best loan?
Best loan is the one that closes.
Hey, what's the most common loan? Or
Most-
most requested? Yeah, most requested common loan.
What we get requested most is a commercial loan for a 1 to 4 family rent investment property, whether it be fix and flip or rental. We do a whole bunch of those. I mean, honestly, as a company, you don't make as much money per deal doing loans on 1 to 4 family residential. But I remember when I was starting in real estate as an investor myself, I would have loved to have an outlet like what we have here where I can go to them and I'm not having to
making
constantly
smoky
call
in here,
lenders
boys.
and call banks and call 14, 15 different banks to find one that's going to fund it the way I want to. Because we're always shopping lenders, right?
Yeah.
And
We've built a really, really good talent at lending other people's money and finding out other people and where they want to place their money, and then finding investors that need that money. And I'll tell you, whenever I say we, I'm talking solely about Rockford still. He's our director. Whenever we created this company together about 4.5 years ago, he and I looked at each other. I said, I want you to lead this thing. I want you to be the director. And so that company was born, and I've tried to stay out of Rockford's way. I only offer advice whenever he asks for it. And he has done such an amazing job with our product list, our clientele, even our production staff that we have on right now, between sales and between processing. He's just done an incredible job with it. And so I'm very blessed to have him as my partner. So if there's lending questions, this is the man to answer any and all lending questions, in my opinion. He knows just about everything. It's absolutely crazy.
I wouldn't say I know just about everything.
I did.
My grandpa would quote, he'd tell me, he's like, there's money out there. Someone has your money. You just got to go find it.
Yeah.
There's always money out there.
That's my job.
Your job is to go find it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I need money. And I can come
Rockford,
find you.
He does the shopping for you. He establishes, like, we have clients that will call us about one type of loan. And by the end of the conversation, it's like, that's not really the type of money you want to borrow or can borrow, but we can shift your focus here to where something and that money pool and that loan product actually exists, just not how you were thinking about it. So he is able to convert clients and convert borrowers into the right loans. And the right loan is the one that closes. He actually taught me that. So that's my go-to answer these days whenever somebody asks.
And Mason, I thought it'd be awesome to have you on this episode because you have to always try to find money to help close the deals for real estate that you're trying to buy, right? And the deals that you're trying to close. Am I mistaken?
No, I mean, that's the name of the game. Is for us, it's not hard to find the deal. We've mastered the art of finding the right property at the right price and having the numbers. What we have to do is we have to get with banks and find out what is your formula for us. Here's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. Here's what we want to take down. Here's what we want to own. But what's the formula of that? What do I need to do or what are the numbers I need to be at to be able to find, to be able to go out and find that deal that works perfectly for the bank or whatever products that you're selling. So I have re-engineered
for
it a
that
little bit.
strategic partner in banking that sees your vision and helps you get there.
That's right. And the problem that we find is regional banks and smaller banks, they don't want to give you that because it's their secret sauce. They don't want you to know exactly what they're looking for, even though you bring this perfect package to them.
We use that term often. We get calls from brokers all over the United States asking which lenders to use. And his answer is typically, sorry, that's our secret sauce.
Right. Because it is. And so banks have these formulas. So after you establish a relationship with a bank, then you can kind of get what they're looking for. And then you can go after it. And some of the best partnerships we've had with banks have been the ones like, hey, Mason, you need to be under this LTV. Here's what we're looking for. Here's the number. Go get it and go find it. And we just go chase it down. So my question would be to you, I have a very good question. So my question would be to you, hypothetically speaking, let's say I'm looking to bring on a big acquisition, multifamily apartments. What are you guys looking for to make deals like that work? What's the ideal situation where you're like, you know what, this is probably a home run?
You're probably not going to like this answer, but it depends.
Of course it does. See?
So, again, going back to how we normally start is I want to know what you're working on, what your goals with that project is. And then I'm going to try to find a lender, a lending option that fits what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Right? So I don't want an investor to ever pass up on a deal because the previous deal we told them this is the lending criteria. So they didn't contract the next one that they potentially could have contracted. Maybe we've got a different funding source for it. Right. So we've got everything from hedge funds to insurance companies, to private family funds on the platform, private lenders, including a couple local banks. I mean, I have told a borrower before that your deal is so unique. If I can't get my local bank to jump on and fund this, we're probably not going to fund this, because it was kind of that unicorn and the local bank, they're underwriting the borrower more than the deal. Whereas most of my lenders are underwriting the deal more than the borrower.
Now, Rockford's been able to establish some excellent contacts in the local banks and been able to work out and negotiate the ability for us to come in and help them lend their money. And so those banks have been instrumental in our growth over the last several years. So it's really neat to see that. And we have had incredible success because of those local banks. But I know what you're saying as far as local banks need more national money needs to come in because there's more availability to it.
That's right. And it's good that you guys have those relationships because as an investor, we are pigeonholed to what the bank's going to do, right? Unless we take private money.
Right.
And so I'm stuck out there trying to raise private cash daily, right? And so that's what I do, constantly bringing in private money so I can bridge the gap a little bit different from having to go to a bank. But you have to, at some point, very few people have $20 million laying around, and you have to go to, guys like you who know how to do it. Now,
So what is your job, though? Is it to go out and find the properties or to go out and find the money?
so as an investor, you have to do both.
Yeah. So kind of our little slogan, if you will, is we shop lenders because you've got better things to do, right? You're out there running your business, you're running the projects, you're finding deals. I mean, the last thing you need to be doing is sitting on the phone all day calling 40 different banks to find out, okay, what are your terms, right? Will you fund on this type of deal? Do you like this type of deal? What's your legal lending limit? Which almost no banker will ever tell you what their legal lending limit actually is. You can kind of backwards figure it out based on, you can look up the size of the bank. For example, if it's a $30 to $60 million bank, their legal lending limit is probably like $2 to $5 million. And they literally can't lend to any one client more than that. They're just not allowed to. And they normally they're not even willing to approach that, because even just because you're allowed to doesn't mean you want that much exposure to any one client.
We actually come in and help banks in that regard. Whenever they've capped, we have some relationships like that they actually have their clients call us in that regard, because they know we can come in where the bank stops. We can fill that gap.
I'll tell you, I think we're all going to become really close friends.
I told you there was a bromance for me.
There's
earlier.
definitely a
You had no
bromance for
idea,
sure.
Yeah.
I was taken back of like when I was in middle
saw
school.
that.
And I,
Just
knock
wait for
over
the
there.
after show.
I heard the desk knock over there,
Dude,
Mason. It's okay.
It was there, my dude.
Was that
so
Braden or you, though?
Just think about this. Like middle school, you're walking through, you see that one pretty girl for the first time, and you get like the butterflies and goosebumps. I'm feeling that right now towards
got
you
those
too.
tingles working?
I got the tingles. Because what I do is I do go find properties that are poorly operated, ideally, under rented and value add. And so what I look for is to take down the deal and then try to get a little money from the bank to fix it up. I want the whole package.
Yeah, normally what we'll do for a deal like that, where it is a value add, we're normally starting with a bridge loan, something 12 to 36 months on an apartment, and give you time to buy the property, get whatever work done you need to get done, and then we'll be looking, if you're going to hold it, then we can refinance onto something long term. Preferably something non-recourse. I'm a big fan of non-recourse.
Ladies and gentlemen, the most creative man in finance.
For the audience, if they're not familiar with what I mean by non-recourse versus a full recourse loan, a full recourse requires a personal guarantee, where
Not having
if the deal goes sideways and the lender ends up having to take the property from you, if the property is not enough to satisfy that loan, if it's full recourse, you had that personal guarantee, you've signed on to then make the lender whole, and you're still on the hook for the rest of it. Non-recourse, if everything goes sideways, you give the property to the bank and you're done, right? So I'm a big fan of non-recourse. If you're borrowing under $1 million, you're probably not going to see a non-recourse loan. But
What's that?
Non-recourse loan?
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Where
That means it's not really attached to any property. There's no recourse against you personally on the loan.
So I asked that in
non-recourse
case
loan.
somebody missed it, right? Make it really short, sweet, and simple like that. Like, that's good. Yeah. Okay.
so
I can really dumb things down well. So
yeah,
after he says it, I can dumb everything down
which
for
is
you.
which is awesome. That's where you guys can really complement each other, though. Like, you're really educated in. Okay, not to say that you're not, but let's say.
Thanks, Braden.
He did.
But
Ladies
let's say that the way that you explain things are very thorough and technical, but maybe in the eyes in which I'm trying to understand introductorily, initially is like, what does that mean? And then you're like, listen, this is what it means. I'm like, okay, well, that generates my interest, enough information for me to ask more questions. And then you're like, oh, that's where you need to talk to. That's where you need to talk to my guy about that.
That's basically what I do with every conversation. Is I have a sign that kind of flashes with an arrow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to talk about something? Cool, we can talk about that for a quick second.
That's where you
Then
call,
need to
like,
go talk to Rockford
That's
Steel
where he said
because he
he's
knows
your
more than me.
yin to the yang.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, whenever he and I travel, we go to Vegas several times a year for conventions, and with Rockford's, I hate to call them disabilities, but with his wounds from war, I'll say
they're disabilities.
Just
go ahead and call them what they are.
So with his disabilities from being a Marine and going overseas, and thank you again, brother. Every day I love you for that. But he has a hard time walking into a room full of people. And whenever we walk into a room full of people there, it's thousands of people. And so he's usually good for 1 or 2 trips through whenever people are still waking up in the morning and it's not too loud. But after that, he can't enter without a migraine or something kicking on. So he sends me in. This is where the yin and yang come in. I go in, and by the time I leave that room, I don't need to know everybody. They need to know me. And if they know me, then they know then to go find Rockford Still and talk to him.
Yeah, we found that the pairing works really well. Chris will go and do the evening stuff, and then the next morning when
we
he's
both
still
wore our finest suits today.
Yeah. When he's still sleeping it off, I'm going through the meeting and going through, and they'll say, "Oh, Stout funding. Oh yeah, Chris. Oh, the cowboy." And it's, they get really excited, and gives a good
Every
opportunity
time.
to make an introduction, and then we can start talking about, okay, how are we going to do business together, right? Because when we're in Vegas, we're normally there to meet lenders, right? That's why we're going. We're going to conventions, meeting lenders, because like I said, we're always shopping lenders. I'm always looking for new good lenders. If I'm doing a refi for a client and they had a really good experience on their purchase loan with their previous lender, well, I'm giving them a call saying, "Hey, do you work with brokers?" My client says they had a great experience with you. I want my other clients to also have a great experience. Let's have a conversation.
Well, this last time around, we met so many new brokers in this industry that they're calling us, asking us if they can bounce loans through us. Recently, one thought we actually were the lender, and we're like, no, we're a broker. Oh, so you guys do what we do? Well, no, you guys are trying to do what we do. We've already been established, and you're all brand new to it, which is why you're calling us. But if you'd like to bounce it through us, we're here for you. We're happy to help you. So, like I said, the secret sauce, we don't give that out very often. Only the family knows the secret sauce. It's an old family recipe at this point.
Boston baked beans.
That's right. It's funny, Mason. Word around the industry is that you recently acquired an apartment complex and moved into big multifamily.
That is what's happening. Yeah,
Dude, congratulations, man. That is awesome.
thank you, man.
How'd you decide to jump from single family up to multifamily?
So it was always part of the plan.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to, in the past, I'd already done quite a bit of single family and then got out, then got back in. And so the goal was to build a process around contractors, process around my team, and kind of who all was going to be involved from start to finish, and then move into the multifamily space. And so I'd started calling myself really hustling owners and operators and just beating them up.
Nice.
Being extremely aggressive and got a lot to say yes. And I said no to a lot.
A friend of mine early on in life said, "Hey, Chris, why be passive aggressive whenever you can just be aggressive?" And that has been almost a life motto for me. Is
be aggressive.
Be
That's the first thing that came to mind.
And so whenever you say that comes into my head every time I hear that word, and I love to share that phrase because it's why be passive aggressive. Whenever you can be aggressive, and look what happens whenever you're aggressive, you see the successes and you see the multifamily fall into place for you. And you probably visualize this for years. How long have you been in investing total?
Off and on since early 2000s.
Okay, so you've been doing this quite a while.
Quite
You
some
have
time.
the experience now. And like you said, you've been building the teams and moving up to where you can now step into this space. And I'm sure you have your eyes on probably bigger apartment complexes than the one you acquired already.
Yeah. We're in the middle of underwriting 5 units for $20 million. And so in the process of doing that,
Fantastic.
we will take it down. There's no question of not taking it down. And
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you talked about being aggressive. That's who I am. I don't believe in trying to be somebody that I'm not. And so I put my heart out there every day, every moment.
See,
and
the bromance just keeps growing, bro.
I see it. I see it.
What's up, honey?
I just don't think there's anything wrong with it. What I think is if you and I were to meet in a room like we are today, and I was somebody different.
That's kind of what happened here.
That's right. But if I was somebody different, and then you saw me outside of here, and I was aggressive like I am now, and maybe I was very docile in here, but I was aggressive outside here, you'd be like, man, this guy's a dick. But if I come off that way right now,
I'm
you could
sure
never say
several
it.
people would. On the other hand, I wouldn't.
There
I'd
you
be like,
go.
I like this guy.
There you go.
He's
yeah.
a prick. I love him.
I love it.
Yeah, I can work with anybody.
Me too.
I can talk to anybody. I don't care what your personality type is. We're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, even Chance sitting over here not saying a goddamn thing, and
I'm doing a lot of listening.
pardon my language, I'll refrain.
Oh no, be you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
It's fucking fine.
Good. That's
Here we
fucking
go.
great. We're all alive. That's more for people that might be listening that are offended.
He's just
If
gonna
they're
edit.
offended, they
This
can
old cowboy. I can say that because I'm the oldest one at the table now.
listen. I think Abel will approve with me best. I think we went through this a couple podcasts ago to where, you are who you are. You're authentic, And if you wind up being that jackass that nobody likes, okay, then get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't be a jackass. No one's going to like you in the end of the day, but get out, right? Like,
Braden, see, this is why we love you.
Oh, thank you.
Broke it down simple for me. I got that. Don't be a jackass.
Just don't be a jackass.
Okay. Put that
I
on
mean,
that on the dream
so there's
board.
a healthy balance between being aware and being not sensitive, but kind of being appropriate, I guess, to the people that you're around or whatever, right? Like, sorry, don't, to some mothers, don't go to your mother and just start cussing up a storm. Like, maybe that's disrespectful in some families, right? Like,
yeah, so don't have you bring your hookah in here and toss a hashish cube in and, get the room all smoky.
don't tempt me.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Medication, my bad.
Yeah, there you go. So I know a lot of businesses, they're needing, in my opinion, I'd say working capital and capital for equipment and expansion.
Yep.
Right? Would you say those are some of the most common reasons for non-residential
For non-real
property
estate.
loans?
Yeah.
For
Well, and in
non-real
the
estate.
fourth quarter, it's a huge time for businesses that need to spend money to buy equipment. And so we provide that opportunity for them and we're able to do from A paper all the way down to, D paper in equipment finance.
What does that mean?
So think A
paper would
your
be
best borrowers. You're talking the best credit scores, the best money in the bank. They could go buy it with cash right now if they wanted to. That's A paper. Then
But they'd rather keep the
paper's
cash in the
slightly
bank
less all
and
the way
go
down to
finance
D
it.
paper. And D paper is the one you would probably laugh at and go, that guy's really trying to get a loan? So yeah, we can help that guy too.
So the D is like a 550 credit score, and the A is like 800.
400.
Yeah, A is going to be like an 800. I'm saying D's probably going to be around the 500 range.
Okay.
I've never seen a 400 credit score.
I
Chris
haven't either.
probably has.
Yeah,
but I've
I
never
pulled
seen
my
a
own
400
credit years ago when I saw one, so had to change that.
I've seen it. I've seen a few in the 300s.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know it went that low.
So I was in the,
350 is the low.
yeah, I was
It's
in-
really hard to get a 350.
How do you
You
get a
have to work really hard to borrow a lot of money
So
and not pay it back.
I've looked at thousands of bureaus,
Uh-huh.
just thousands, because of auto industry for a long time. So
Okay.
so looking at thousands of bureaus, and you see some of the craziest things. And you're right. To get in the 300s, it's work. It is absolute work to get there. I mean, you have to pay absolutely nobody for a very long time for that to happen.
And they got to keep lending you money throughout that period that you're not paying.
That's right. Sometimes you have
It's-
to trick somebody
Right.
when you're a 485 to get something to not pay it. So your stuff could drop down to 3s. It's wild.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody got a hold of your information. If they can work you down to a 350, my hat's off to them. That's pretty impressive.
Strong.
Yeah.
That should be valued at 800.
It's hard to be an 800, but we all know the 800 customer. They're all the same.
Well, they're not all the same.
But you know what I'm saying.
Are they? What do you mean?
They all have a very similar mindset.
Yeah, the mindset. It's on the auto side, I'll give that piece. On that side, it's they know what they want. It's their income is almost in the same realm. Their job times in the same realm. It's you could see the 800 credit score person.
Can you
and-
build the demo?
Yeah,
Age range,
45, 55,
income range,
over 80 grand.
male or female?
Male,
Are they living in the city or suburbs?
suburb.
Really?
Big house
Yeah,
outside.
definitely not in the city. If they're in the city, they're now divorced and have gone through a bankruptcy recently and living in a condo. So that's your key tell.
They
Hey, you know what you're doing right now, right? You know what I'm doing?
Profiling.
You know, I'm building your target audience for when we start doing campaigns.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So-
Braden, right?
In reality, those 800 borrowers, it's great that they have fantastic credit. It's great that they know what they want. But some of my best clients don't have perfect credit.
And do you need? So do I have to have an 800 to work with you guys?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We would prefer you did, Braden.
Well, of
but
course, everyone would.
We'll go with a
right?
700. So
I
it's
have a
okay.
lot more lending options if you have perfect credit. But again, some of my best borrowers do not have perfect credit.
What is the average credit score that you see?
Probably 720 to 740.
Okay.
So it's still really good credit. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good.
What's
So,
the difference between having
probably
720 and
agree.
650 credit?
720 to 740 pays all their bills, but they utilize their credit readily. So their credit cards are fluctuating constantly. They're paying them off. They're paying it on. Whereas a 660 max will start raising them up without paying them off.
I think in the auto world, that 720 to 750 is probably the ideal customer as well. 800s, and I'm an 800 score. I mean, we drive, the same car for a long time. We all wear white shoes, white New Balance.
What'd
The
you say
day
your
you
credit
buy your
score was?
car is the day you start shopping for your next one 8 years later.
I got my credit check the other day. It was at 832.
Wow.
Dude,
That's impressive.
There you
got
go.
me beat by like at least 300 points, bro. That's amazing.
Strong. strong.
I've been raising mine up.
But in the auto world, I would prefer a 720 to maybe 760. You actually get a little better range of, in my opinion, where you can go with lenders too, in that.
So what I notice is the type of borrower that has that 720 to 740 score, or maybe up to 760, maybe, right? They're more likely to just take action, right? They're going to borrow more money. They're going to buy more deals. They're going to do more stuff, because that borrower with 800 credit score, they have a lot of that, they call it analysis paralysis. They're evaluating the same deal and then they never make the offer. I was a realtor way back in the day, and if I was working with an investor, I had a rule for them. If I show you this house, there is a number where this deal makes sense. You will offer on every single house I show you. Because if you don't, I have no chance of making any money for my work of doing all the due diligence on this property, making sure this is something you might actually want to see. And, so the ones that are going to have that 800 score, they're not willing to do that. They're not going to offer on everything because they don't want every deal. They want this one particular deal. Where some of my clients that don't have even a 700 score, they got like a 620, 630 score. They're taking action. They're doing things, right? You don't have to have perfect credit to start buying investment properties or to start building a business. Actually, most business owners don't have really good credit. When I got started in real estate, I had probably a 790 credit score. And then after about 6 months of being in real estate, my score dropped 100 points. Because you make all these offers, you have all these credit checks. If you're doing a lot of deals, a lot of volume, you have more than 15 credit checks, you get a big hit on your credit. And then, something they don't tell you is if you take out an actual personal line of credit and then use it, your score drops a ton because it's the same as maxing out a credit card. And I did that. So my score dropped a whole bunch. It's recovered for the most part since then, but most business owners, they're doing things. They're leveraging credit. They're borrowing money. Their score is not going to be perfect.
Well, if they're doing it right, they should be borrowing money and leveraging their credit.
Well, and you don't need an 800 score to get a loan, right? Most of my lenders, you got above a 740, you're probably getting their best deal.
I would say anything over a 740 is just bragging.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Just running up the score at that point.
You keep a lower credit balance than I do.
That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a 740 and an 800?
Not a damn thing.
What's the difference between 700 and 740?
Quite a bit.
Really?
Yep.
So those 40 points.
Those
40 points.
So is the 720 the cutoff
credit,
mark?
And credit's typically rated in 20-point tiers. So every 20 points is a risk assessment. Well, they're no longer a 740, they're a 720. There's more risk. Okay, that's how credit scores present the risk elements involved with
that
this.
small of a difference.
20 points is typically the scale that we see more risk placed onto the rate or to the cost of the rates or to the increases. And so as we start seeing those scores go down, that's where the rates get a little higher. Yeah. It's not necessarily that the rate got higher, it's the cost of that rate because of the risk involved.
Yeah, and you can also look at it as kind of like credit bands, right? Because depending on where your score is going to determine in a big way which of our lenders we're going to go talk to. Because some of my lenders, their minimum score might be a 660 or 680, right? And if you got a 640, it doesn't mean you can't get a loan. It just means we've got to talk to a different lender, right? And the nice thing about working with someone like us is, well, we've got a lender for that. Right?
So I can relate to how you guys shop around, because I'll work with a lot of businesses who will come to me and be like, hey, I need this swag or whatever this kind of event materials. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you came to me because I work with local and national vendors. I know where to go find the best quality, best price combination for that product. Like I've already done all the shopping. Now I just know, okay, you want this product, you want this swag or event stuff. I know who to go to get for that. And there's a list. So I'm going to buy this from them, buy this from another vendor, buy another element from another vendor, right? And just piece it together. And
yeah,
so I understand the shopping thing.
Yeah, it's the same way as why I prefer working with an insurance broker as opposed to a captive agent, right? I know the insurance broker is shopping my property out with a whole list of insurance carriers to figure out who's going to be the best for my deal, right? Whereas a captive agent, say if they're a farmer's agent, they can generally offer farmers and foremost.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah. I agree with you on that. When it comes to insurance, yeah. Because my insurance agent, he has his own brokerage, so he's not just a captive agent. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, which is cool because it's not like I'm not just going with farmers. I'm going with the guy who's going to get me the best quality insurance for the best rate.
And I'm not saying Farmers is a bad insurance company.
Or State Farm or Progressive or whatever. Yeah.
I am.
I've done business with both over the years. I like referring to a broker. I also have agents that are captive agents that have killed it for me throughout the years. Whenever rates were up and somehow their company had better rates and had better service available than the brokers could find at that time. So it's good to know both and to have both sides and to have relationships with both. Yep. But as far as currently with insurance, I mean, brokers are killing it right now. Same with mortgages. Brokers are just out there killing it. UWM, United Wholesale Mortgage, just overtook Rocket Loans as the #1 mortgage lender in America last quarter. That's huge. Rocket is a massive company. UWM's background, they work with brokers. That's what they started as. That's who they were. Though they've expanded since then, as they should, as everybody should. But because of the brokers that have benefited from UWM's speed and their rates and just everything that they've built over the years, now they're the #1 in the country. That's incredible, especially in these current times.
It's fascinating. Chance, what kind of questions do you got? I mean, I know you've been working through some financial stuff with real estate and non-real estate. So is there anything that's come to mind?
A few things, but I've just been, being the youngest one here, I'm just absorbing all this, and I'm just kind of enjoying it. But what if someone has, say, capital either in a property or that they're about to acquire some capital? Would you be able to do lending on that secured capital in the future? Would there be anything like that?
So you're saying hypothetically they bought and they own a property.
Yeah.
Right? And you're looking to access their equity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, so for example, if you've got, say, $100,000 paid off single family rental property, I mean, generally we can go up to 75 to 80% loan to value of that property. So let's say you've got it paid off. You're wanting to go buy these other deals, but you have this asset that's worth $100,000. Well, we could do a cash out refi on that rental property, get you some capital that you can then take and potentially go buy 2 or 3 other houses, right? Because
isn't there a method behind that as well?
So you've probably heard, anyone that's involved in real estate, they've probably been on Bigger Pockets. They've heard of the BRRRR method, right? Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
It's all over TikTok. If you even start searching for real estate, flip or whatever, you get swamped.
I get cold every time I see it.
Yeah, I've been doing the BRRRR method since long before they called it the BRRRR method. We just refer to it as buying free houses. I'm going to buy this house cheap enough that after remodel, and I rent it out, I'm going to refinance. I'm going to get all my cash back. And sometimes I'll get my cash back and then some. I have bought properties where on that cash out refi, I got more out than what I put into the property. Now, those deals are really hard to find right now.
Yeah.
But back when I first started, it was a lot easier to find deals. I'd make 10 offers, probably get 4 deals, right? And nowadays, I know most investors are making several hundred offers and maybe getting 1 or 2. I mean, it's a numbers game at this point. You should offer on basically everything you look at, because, like I said, it is a deal at some number. Well, except for a couple I looked at when I run my numbers, by the time you were done doing all the work, you would have put more into the house than it's actually worth. And you might as well just offer lot value minus scrape.
That's all I had. Just the financing thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short is there's always options, right? When you're looking for financing, looking for ways to fund deals, don't think inside the box. One of the things I've always liked about real estate is you don't have to do it the same way everyone else does it, right? I mean,
or the same way every time.
Yeah. My favorite transaction was a buddy of mine was looking for a flip property, and I had a flip property under contract, and I was looking for another rental, and he had a rental property under contract. We literally just signed an agreement to swap houses. The consideration for the contract was the other house.
Wow.
You can do that in real estate. Just because the norm is you're writing it down a dollar amount for that offer doesn't mean you actually have to. You can put whatever you want as your consideration.
What's the smallest loan that you've processed?
The smallest loan that I've processed and closed was a $30,000 property in Stroud.
Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah, that was before we set minimum comps as well. So our company made $300 for funding that deal.
So what's your company minimum now?
$1,500.
Loan?
No, $1,500 comp.
Oh, okay.
That's the minimum fee set.
Yeah, that's the minimum
answer.
broker fee is
Siri,
$1,500.
shut up. So the opposite. What's the largest loan?
Let's see.
We actually got to take a swing, the largest swing to date, which we're both, I mean, it's a badge of honor for us. We got to swing at a $1.2 billion deal. And it was a massive deal. And they had come to us with needing funding. And by the time we were all said and done, they were able to get the funding. We weren't able to do it for them, but the ideas that Rockford put forward, we're able to get them over the finish line where they needed to be.
So your guys' funding
I do want to
proposal.
say that we could have closed their deal. They chose to go a different direction, but we definitely could have closed their deal. So they were looking for a loan for their entire project, but they, $1.2 billion, most lenders want to see a certain amount of, you've got this much in liquid assets available.
At least a
Now,
740 credit score.
We presented them, Braden, we presented them with a 100% financing option.
Wow.
100%.
Yeah,
You have access to a lender to be able to give that kind
We
of.
have several lenders that their minimum loan amounts start around the $100 million mark.
Wow.
I'll be talking to you your whole drive back to Oklahoma City.
He's like,
on the phone.
he's like, I'm just going to sit in the back seat.
It's funny.
taking notes.
You love multifamily, and I can see it in your face.
I'll just ride with
So,
you and then Uber back.
I'll tell you a quick story. The last time we were in Vegas was for NACL, the National Association of Commercial Loan Brokers, and we walk in the room and we realize that we've been doing this longer than just about everybody there. Quickly, people realize, because there's a couple hundred lenders there, but there's several thousand brokers in this room. And as we're talking to these lenders, like, you guys have been doing this a while. You know the lingo. Apparently, the majority of the room had just tried to convert or is in the process of converting from residential to commercial, because that's the majority of the market that we see right now. Like, it's a massive investor market. But anyways, I digress. So I'm walking through, and we go up to the club there at Caesars. And we're up there for an investor party, and I'm standing there, and this guy, he's looking at me, and I'm like, man, this guy's a good-looking dude. I'm talking, he looks like an ex-Navy SEAL, and he's got a beard that goes all the way down to here. And I'm like, man, what a cool beard, right? That guy has got a great beard. Next thing I know, about 10 minutes later, he comes over, and he's like, hi, I'm Dave. I really like your hat. I'm like, hi, Dave, I'm Chris. I really like your beard, right? Next thing I know, we're
Bromance
best
from the
friends.
start.
We're best friends for 3 days at this point. And Dave is awesome. Shout out to Dave. What's up, Dave? But so finally, Rockford gets to meet Dave. Well, the last one we went to, Rockford took the morning shifts. We divided it up to where he was working the morning, taking care of the investors that morning, and then I would come out in the afternoon and take it over and work into the evenings and work the parties that he can't get into. Not that he can't get into, he doesn't want to go into, because it causes him major headaches. And so I end up Dave on my hip the whole time. The last night, Rockford and Dave and I are out to dinner, and I kind of wasn't really paying attention to who he worked for the whole time. And turns out he is one of the key directors for the largest HUD apartment complex lending company in America.
Wrong.
Wow.
That's strong.
I had no clue.
Is this what you were telling me like 2-3 weeks ago?
Maybe so.
Going to Vegas, and there's like a bunch of people in the room. This rings a bell.
Yeah, this is same event.
That's
This was the
okay.
last one we went out for. We've been to 3 different events here in the last as many months. So there's some years we're in Vegas multiple times, and then some years we're in Vegas even more. So it's we go to several conventions a year. Like Rockford said, we're always trying to find new additions to our lending. We don't just lend on real estate. We lend money. We want to lend on as many things that people need us to as possible. So we want to be able to be that one-stop shop for our customers to say, hey, I want to diverse from apartment complexes into
Cannabis.
cannabis lending.
Yep, we lend on that.
And you need a cannabis grow, and we can finance that. But then you say, hey, I also want to do my own production and do my own extracts and all my own stuff. And I say, well, it's a good thing that we can lend on cannabis equipment as well. And holy shit, now we've got the whole thing working for you, and you're making money. You're growing pot. You're producing it. And if you're smart, you've bought a truck so you can also deliver your own stuff, and you've got an on-site sales.
So what
But
can you
that's-
not offer funding for? Let's put it that way, because it sounds like you can do it all.
We can't fund cars yet. We can fund semis.
Okay, so but not individual cars. What about cars for business? What if it was like 4 or 5 vehicles, like a fleet?
That's a
Solid
good question.
maybe?
I'm going to go with a solid yes. If we don't have the lender on the platform now, we'll have it tomorrow as soon as Rockford calls.
So there's a
us.
dealership that let's say I was talking with. Let's say it was
Okay.
Ford, and I wanted.
So let's say you want to buy the
5
dealership.
F350s.
That's where we come in. We help
Okay.
you buy the dealership.
But what if I needed help buying 5 vehicles, but
We
I
tell
didn't
you
want to
to
go
buy
through
the
the
dealership,
dealership?
right?
Go to
So our challenge and part of the reason
After
why
4.
I've never really
Yeah.
gotten into not really wanted to get into the space of cars, if you will, right? Is the finance office at the dealership is a loan broker, right? they're already there trying to find you the best deal they can because they want to get you approved so you can buy the car and go on, right? They also make money on that piece,
Right.
right? So
Okay. So when it comes
Yeah.
to like vehicles and they're not semis
Yeah.
or tractors, right? Or farm equipment, like large vehicles,
Yeah.
don't come to you guys. If there are
Farm vehicles,
no,
absolutely.
If they
we
are
can
not
do ag,
that,
we can do ag loans all
but
day
if they are
long.
not those loans, if they're
So if they want to buy a minivan, we can't help with that. In fact, we can refer you to somebody who's really good in car sales that's going to take good care of them.
yeah.
But as far as that goes, that would be something that we currently don't have access to or haven't been able to discover that lender that would benefit our platform. yet.
Or if it would even be worth it, because at some point it's not worth writing a $30,000 loan, right? To make $300.
Yes and no.
Really?
Volume is volume at some point. And if $30,000 has 10 points attached to it versus 1 point, then a $30,000 loan seems pretty good. You're making $3,000 versus $300.
That's what I say. So in the auto loan space, what you're going to have is, say you have a 72-month loan, you can write that up 2.5 points, right? But then you have some banks that'll pay you flats, and they pay massive flats, up to 6% flat.
Wow.
So if you got a 6% flat on, $40,000 or $75,000 truck, then yeah, sure, that would be valuable. But I'm sure for what you guys do, and when you look at sheer amount of volume it takes to make something like that work, it's really hard to justify that because finance guys are brokers. Dealerships get paid, sometimes they get paid a fee. The owner gets paid a fee on the back of that loan or the front of that loan. Then the finance manager and director get paid a percentage. And then the bank obviously is taking the loan, and the finance guy can assign the loan to whoever approved it. And so that's what they deal with. They're signing legal documents, and then they have that right to assign that loan wherever they want to go. It just doesn't make sense for what you guys are doing because of the value of what you bring of dealing in mortgages and commercial.
We're dealing in much larger spaces than that. And we have people, local banks, that if somebody needs that, which we would consider that a personal loan at that point at $30,000 more than likely, we would probably refer them to one of the local banks that we have established relationships with and try to swing them something their way.
In your own opinion, what is your favorite funding option that you offer? What in your own personal opinion, like which one's your favorite?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before, Braden.
Or Rockford? Do you have one? You're like, oh man, anytime I get a request for this loan, bam, bam, bam. I know it's easy. It's almost guaranteed. It's done. Like
any loan that closes, of course, I've never had an issue with 800 credit scores. They're easy loans to get done. They are slam dunks. You get them in. Heck, you usually give them a discount whenever we do them because they're so
not common
easy.
though.
Oh, they're very common.
800's
now,
common.
Got to remember, I also do residential lending, or I have a residential lending brokerage. Yeah. And so we see a lot of those 760, 780, 800 scores. We have a lot of higher echelon clients that come to us, and we've established that rapport and that relationship in the communities that we are currently lending in. So to pick out one, I'm going to say my most passionate lending right now is our commercial piece. That's where I'm really passionate about currently. I've always been passionate about cannabis lending. Whenever the laws were even in legislature before they were passed, I told Rockford, we need to capitalize on this. I'm passionate about cannabis anyway. I have been for years, even whenever I wasn't a smoker. And so I told him I want to offer money for people for cannabis. And so we contacted some friends of ours, some lending buddies up in Colorado, and kind of felt them out and said, hey, this is what we're wanting to do. Subsequently, those same people gave us the guidance to actually split off from the residential company and start our funding company and the commercial lending space. And so that gentleman actually turned us on to our first cannabis lenders. We feel we were the first ones in the state to even offer money. There was nobody else offering it. We put it out there. The local banks and other local companies had to figure out then to get into the market with us.
It's hard to find a bank in that industry, much less find money for it. Absolutely. That isn't private and hand over fist, right?
Generally, it's state charter banks. State charter banks and credit unions can open accounts for a cannabis company. They normally just charge a fee.
So what's your preference on one of the products that you offer?
So being a real estate investor myself, getting started, I started in single family rental properties, right? I like products that help investors grow. So normally when we're starting, you're buying properties that need work, buy a dilapidated house, you buy it on a fix and flip type loan, you buy it, renovate it, and then you're ready to go. Most lenders want you to wait for those artificial seasoning periods. They want you to wait 6 months before you do your cash out refi. We have a lender on the platform that waives all seasoning as long as you've done some remodel to the property. And oh wait, it gets even better. Instead of going to 75, yeah,
You're definitely best friends.
instead of making you wait 6 months, and instead of going to 75% like most lenders, they also go to 80% loan to value.
Turning me on. Calm down.
And oh wait, it gets even better.
Dang, Billy.
Remember how I mentioned that you're probably not going to see a non-recourse loan under $1 million? All of this lender's loans are non-recourse.
Okay. All right.
Actually speechless for a second here.
Do you need a moist towelette?
I do need a moist towelette. I'm getting
Just
excited.
checking. We keep them warm. It's
I'm a big fan
It's
of
like
that
it's an
lender,
amenity
obviously.
in our office. Yeah.
Yeah, and
got your
apparently
man
I'm not,
wipes out here.
apparently I'm not the only one, because their underwriting times have stretched a little bit since we first got started. When we first got started with them, they were closing loans on average in about 21 days. Now it's more like 45 to 60, unfortunately, but they still offer those same type of products, which is still fantastic, because if you're done with the remodel in 2 weeks, we can start your refi. You don't have to wait 6 months.
What are the rates like?
They're pretty competitive. I don't want to name an actual.
So you don't name a rate,
Yeah.
because I mean that could change.
They're extremely competitive. They're competitive locally with banks. They're competitive nationally. I mean, whenever we quote a rate, depending on the credit score, obviously depends on the lender, depends on the whole thing. But
Depends on
in
the
this
deal.
situation,
Well,
this
let's-
specific lender,
Let's put it in perspective this way. I mean, most local banks are going to be at Wall Street Journal Prime plus 1 or 1 to 1.5. So Wall Street Journal Prime's now at what, 7.5? So 7.5 plus 1.5 is 8. The last one I quoted with them, which was just a few days ago, was lower than that.
Okay, very interesting. I like it. So, what are their terms like? How long can you hold a loan?
So it's fixed for 5, 7, or 10 years on a hybrid arm. So after the fixed rate period, it becomes annually adjustable, and it is interest only during the fixed rate period.
Okay. So you seem like some of the things that Mr. Steele here, some of the things that Mr. Steele is saying is blowing your mind. I want to know why, because
Mason, did you know these products existed?
So I know of some, right? But you had to have done a certain amount of volume with them before you get that treatment. And so there's a bank here in the Tulsa area that I've done a lot of deals with, and now they'll do, if I'm at 80% loan to value all in, so let's just use safe numbers, $100,000 home, I can buy it and put all the work into it, and I'm at 80%, then they'll let me do that 100% loan and give me the money back for rehab, right? Which is a phenomenal deal.
Right.
And right now with rates being where you're at, they're definitely below where everyone else is at, which is great. It's 9 months only, interest only, but there's a 1.5% origination, or 1% origination on the front and 1.5% on the back if you close before 90 days. If you close before 9 months. So if you got done with it in 45 days and they don't have seasoning.
Now you're paying another point prepayment penalty.
You're paying a prepayment penalty. So that's tough. So yeah, I think knowing that there's another option out there that I didn't have to do 30 deals with or $5 million. Yeah, I'm excited. And I think a lot of people would be excited. Yeah. What's funny is I'm sitting here and I've sent 3 text messages to my business partners. Hey, I think I found the guys that are doing our deal. I swear, I was like, come hell or high water, they're going to get our deal done. And so I think that that's good. And I like the fact that the biggest piece I think that you bring to the table than a lot of other brokers are going to bring to the table is that you are an investor. You have invested, and you don't see that a lot. You just see a lot of bankers being bankers and doing what bankers do, and they look at numbers and they don't look at the deal. The fact that you have the ability and the knowledge to look at the deal from the front to the back and understand that every deal is different, completely different. It's not just a number. I think that's why you guys are probably so successful.
Well, and honestly, a lot of the members of our team on the funding side are also investors. They generally started off as an investor first, right? So, for example, our top producing loan officer right now, Braedon Kruse, he's also a real estate investor. In the last,
I know him.
You know him?
That's where he's getting his money.
Braedon's purchased. I
Yes.
think currently between the houses he still currently owns, the multifamilies and the ones he's already sold this year, I think he's done in the last 12 months over 100 deals himself. I mean, it's approaching that if it's not already there.
Yeah, he's definitely killing it. And he's kind of new to the scene. I think I met him actually. So I met him this time last year. And he only done a few deals personally as far as investing. But he told me he's working for a lender and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, great. But I started following him on social media because I liked the kid. He was a good kid. I met him at a a Christmas dinner where everyone went to this dinner and then you tipped $100, right?
He's the dream.
And he just was a good kid. So I follow him on social media. I'm seeing all that he's doing, and he's doing a great job. And so I never asked him where he's getting his money. But, dude, I know now.
Gotcha. If you know Brighton's a fantastic loan officer in the commercial realm. And if you like Brighton, I would suggest giving him a call. I mean, he's a great guy. Of course, Rockford and I are always available as well. If you call me, I'm going to tell you to call Rockford, of course. But that's okay with me. I don't mind chatting with you, Mason. I'll give you my number after this is all done.
I'll take it.
Sweet.
Late night texting.
Exactly.
Yep.
Little
We've also
bromance.
got Ashley C's on the team, right? Obviously, she was an investor first before she got into lending, right?
Do you know Ashley?
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love Ashley. She's incredible. And Rockford was saying earlier that her production has blown us away. Yeah. She's done so well in the Tulsa market. We are just incredibly proud of her and the goals that she has set and tackled. It is crazy.
Well, we're wrapping up close to our hour. Can you guys believe that? Shoot.
I thought we were going 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
No, you got to leave that to the other parts. You've got your own podcast to kick off here in the next 30 days,
true.
man.
Mason,
if
you want to come be a guest? Chance you in?
I'll be in.
I'd love to.
You guys
sure.
in on that? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I'd love to.
As soon as we figure out a name for it, I'll let you know.
Okay, so I need money. I'm gonna at least give you guys a call.
How much you need right now?
I don't know. But if I need money,
That's not a good answer. I'm just saying.
actually, I'll tell you. It's close to $1 million.
Okay.
And which you already know that. So,
I just wanted to hear you say it out loud again.
yeah. So,
Mason got the tingles over there from it. So
yeah. So let's say I'm talking as if I'm a viewer. I need money. I'm gonna call you guys. I'm gonna visit a website, visit your social media, something. How am I gonna get a hold of you? I need money. How do I get a hold of you?
Best way to start is to shoot me an email so we can set up a time to have a chat.
What's your email?
Rockford@stoutfunding.com.
Rockford.
Yep. ROCKFORD @stoutfunding STOUT
Like the delicious beverage.
funding.com.
And that's how I get a hold of you directly.
Yeah, that's my email.
Okay.
Mason,
and
I can actually say that because that's how we came up with the name. I went to my beer fridge. Since we are on the Brews podcast here, I can actually say this.
yeah.
I didn't have a name. I just gotten out of my other engagement and went to the fridge and told my wife, I'm going to have a beer. It's noon on April the 2nd. And I go out, I crack, it's cold outside, it's raining, and I pull out a stout. I aged a lot of beers back then. I was really heavily into craft beer. And I pulled a stout out and I started chuckling. I'm like, Stout Lending, Stout Mortgage, Stout Lending. I kind of like that. So I looked it up. It didn't exist. Went and told my wife. She's like, and not just no, but hell no. I said, what do you mean hell no? She said, well, you are known as the beer guy around Oklahoma City. Everybody that knows you is into beer somehow, some way. And I go, that's fine, but look up the definition of the word stout. Forget the beer. Look up the definition. She's like, it's bold. It's outgoing. It's all these things. And she goes, oh my gosh, this describes you, honey. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of why I already bought it in the garage before I came in and told you about it. So,
And that's why they call you the Stout Cowboy.
now they call me the Stout Cowboy. Hell, I get called Chris Stout, Mr. Stout, this Stout, that Stout, hand me a Stout. It doesn't matter.
You're pretty damn stout.
I thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I work on it.
That's awesome. Okay, so I need to get a hold of you. I'll email you, right? Get a hold of Rockford Steel, which is still such a cool last name.
The man of steel over
Man
here.
of Steel, yeah.
Which
man, that's
subsequently,
awesome.
he's been working on lending on a steel factory, which I think is hilarious.
Quite the pun. Where's my rim shot? There it is. Okay, so that sounds good. So I'll do that. Any takeaway thoughts? Like if you were to give me one or two thoughts that I need to take away with, you're like, hey, don't forget this. I know that I keep telling everybody this thing or these few things. What would that be?
If you
Is there
have
any-
an inkling that you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to be a home investor, don't sell yourself short. Don't call it quits without talking to one of us first. I mean, if anything, we're going to give you the guidance that you need to get into it. We may know people that want to be an equity partner or want to be a transition partner, which allows somebody to get in simply by using their experience and partnering with them. We know a lot of investors. We work with a lot.
Or if I
So-
want to be an investor.
Right. And if somebody wants to get into it, having that discussion with one of our loan officers or us even is the best way to get started. Just have the conversation. What do I need to do if I want to get into investment? And the best place you might even find those answers are at your local RIAs. Tulsa's got a great one. The Tulsa REIA, the Tulsa RIA is fantastic. It's the second Tuesday of every month in Tulsa. Oklahoma City, you're talking what, Millionaire Possibilities? What day of the month is Millionaire Possibilities?
First Thursday.
So the first Thursday of the month is $1 Million Possibilities with
Ed Zinneman
That's
runs
right.
that one.
See, the yang to my yang, I'm telling y'all. I can remember the good stuff. He knows the important stuff.
So if you guys are looking to get a hold of Stout, I will make sure that their contact info is either A, in the YouTube video, or B, in the description of the podcast. So if you guys need to get a hold of them, I'll put that on there.
All of our information is on there as well. Yep. So that's stoutfunding.com. You can email Rockford at stoutfunding.com. He's going to have all the answers or be able to point you in the right direction.
But for me, I think the biggest thing is just to take some action, right? I mentioned analysis paralysis earlier. There's a lot of people that want to get involved in investing or they want to start a business and they're scared, right? And it's understandable to be scared. I mean, for most people, the largest investment of their lifetime is their personal home, which is probably the only real estate they own. To branch out and start buying investment properties or to start a new business and pour your life savings and your heart, soul into that company. And you're giving up a 40-hour-a-week job to go work 80 hours a week for yourself. Generally, that's kind of how things go initially.
I thought I was going to get to golf whenever I went out on my own. I still have yet to go one time. It's been a decade.
But you got to take some action. If you don't do anything, you can't expect anything to change except for the worse.
What's that idiotic statement? Keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You're an idiot.
That's what they think the definition of insanity is.
That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah, insanity.
Yeah. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to reach out.
That's right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. I started pushing my team a couple months ago. I said, no idea is the worst idea. So I need y'all to continually think of new ideas.
That's right.
Even if I hate it, even if they hate it, if she hates it, whatever it is, bring it up. If it gets turned down, okay, it gets turned down. Whatever.
A lot of the time, those bad ideas lead to the good ideas.
They do.
You have to spit the stupid ones out there to get them out of the way.
Sometimes you got to know. In order to know where to go, you got to know where you don't want to go. Sometimes you got to start there, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Mason, what'd you take away?
Takeaway is always make sure that your partner is someone who's going to be creative and who does what you do. And so I think, again, I just go back to the fact that these guys do investments and they have a lot of people on their team that do investments too, that I know and that I've seen and interacted with. And having somebody a part of your team like a broker is really the biggest piece, at least to me. For me, the money's always the biggest piece. Finding the money's always the biggest piece.
We come in as that strategic business partner, man. That's where we want to be.
To them, it's the easy part. To all investors, it's the hard part.
You should be able to just forward a contract over and say, hey, got a new deal.
Well, I want a little bit more than the contract.
and whatever he asks for in addition to the contract.
Whatever
that'll start the conversation.
I do want to say I have a really big ass package I'm gonna be forwarding to you here in the next couple of days, and just hoping that it happens.
Braedon Kruse, Sooner Marketing, delivering marketing sooner results. Go ahead. You got a call tag? What?
Mason Thatcher, Flip Tulsa Real Estate.
Chance Jones with Threaded Industries, where we are a brand built to give back.
Make one up.
Rockford Steel with Stout Funding. We shop lenders because you got better things to do.
Hey.
Boom.
Chris Herford. I'm the chief optimist for Stout Funding. I'm also the Stout Cowboy online. Thank you guys for having us. This has been fun.
We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thanks for having us.